this is Janet Morana, Executive Director of Priests for Life. Welcome to our program. Well, this is a very, very important election year. You're hearing a lot about midterm elections. You're hearing about the fact that the whole House is up for re-election and a third of the Senate. But guess what? There are some key states that have ballot initiatives. These are very, very important initiatives that we can help stop making abortion legal through all 9 months of pregnancy in some states. Joining me today is an expert from Missouri, a good friend of mine. Her name is Mary Browning, and she is the Chief Legal Advisor for the Justice Foundation. Welcome to the program.
Welcome. Thank you, Janet. It's so good to be on your show.
I know, and we've been knowing each other for many years.
Yes.
And it does start back with your own abortion story. So maybe you want to briefly let our listeners hear about that.
Well, when I was 18, I had an abortion. The father was my fiance. We got married, and 5 days later, I had an abortion. That was what he wanted to happen, and I went along with it.
Wow. So you got married and then had the abortion?
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
Question, are you still together today?
No.
Of course, yeah, because that's, as we know, there's a few rare couples that do make it through and stay together.
Right.
But for the most part, the abortion divides. It doesn't
Yes.
unite. Right?
That's correct.
Yeah. And I know you work with Alan Parker, good friend of ours from the Justice Foundation.
Yes.
And he had you ladies with part of what's called Operation Outcry.
Yes.
And at the same time, Georgette Forney and I, developed Silent No More. And the difference was, and why we can kind of link arms really, is you get the ladies to sign legal affidavits that you can use in court cases, which we're going to talk about.
Yes.
And with Silent No More, what some of the Operation Outcry ladies also are Silent No More. But the difference is some people in Silent No More feel a little skittish about signing a legal document. So we're there to kind of give them a voice, even if they don't want to sign a legal document.
Yes.
So that's why both of us are kind of partners together. And it just works so well, doesn't it?
It's beautiful, and I am glad that we link arms, because I think it takes all of us working together.
It does, absolutely.
Yes.
So now Missouri, there is a ballot. Why don't you explain the ballot initiative in Missouri? Like what's the correct vote and what's going on?
Well, the ballot initiative this time is to try to undo some of the things that happened in 24.
Right.
So in 24, Missourians voted to put abortion in the Constitution. And for the most part, while there's an exception related to women's mental health, that exception can be overridden if a physician thinks it's in the woman's best interest to have an abortion. So now what is currently in our Constitution is essentially abortion up to 9 months.
Wow.
And we have been a really pro-life state. So this was kind of a surprise, I think, to many of us. Except
because what that does is, if you had good pro-life laws on the books, by enshrining it in your Constitution, it wipes them out, doesn't it?
Yes. Well, that's part of what, there is a legal battle on that, because our Supreme Court, in looking at the ballot language before the election, said, you know what, we can't say that all these laws will be undone. That's going to have to be litigated. Each law will have to be litigated. So now that is a fight that's happening in our state.
Right. So this ballot initiative says what? What is it trying to do?
This would repeal what happened in 24, and then it would reinstate some provisions related to abortion that
were there already, right?
Well, yes. This would put it in the Constitution, and things it would guarantee as a constitutional right are things like parental involvement if this is a minor coming for an abortion or looking for an abortion. It would also indicate that the transgender laws would be codified as well, because Missouri has a statute that says you cannot give transgender drugs or surgeries to minors.
To minors, right.
And so this would put that in the Constitution, because that's part of what's being questioned under the current Constitution with the reproductive freedom language.
So we want to tell people now, for this time, it's to vote yes on this ballot. See, in 2024 is vote no.
That's right.
But now we want to vote yes, because it's going to reverse some of the damage that was done in 2024.
That is correct. That is correct. Now, there's a couple of things there was some polling done to see what would the voters think was plausible. Particularly, I think, because we had almost 50 years of it's in our federal Constitution and it's a fundamental right.
Right.
And so that's not a position that I hold, but was the position of our highest court for many, many years. So there's a couple of exceptions for rape and incest. And there's some very narrow exceptions for life of the mother and fetal anomaly, but it has to be fatal fetal anomaly. So if there is some kind of fetal anomaly, there has to be medical proof that the child would not survive outside the womb.
Right.
So and there's no exception for the mental health of the mother. It just says if physically, and then that's got some pretty narrow criteria. So in that sense, this bill would correct some of the things
That the other
that
did.
happened in 24.
Wow.
Yes.
So now, what are you doing to help pass this wonderful initiative?
Well, thank you for asking that question. You know, Janet, one of the things we hope to do is really related to your founding of Silent No More.
Right.
We're really trying to draw the women and men that have experienced abortion to be silent no more so that they speak out. It's also part of an entity or Operation Outcry.
Right.
When they sign the legal documents, that's one of the ways we stay in touch with them.
Right.
But it also, they can indicate if we can contact them, then they could be involved in speaking out.
Well, and you could also pull whatever affidavit you have signed from Missouri.
Yes.
Because that means, see, what you do and what we do too is we keep track of where they had their abortion, because very often they're living in a different state right now.
Yes.
So what we really need is women who have had abortions in Missouri
That's
to come
correct.
forward.
That
That's
is
what we
correct.
want, right?
Yes. Because Janet, as I now know, when I say I made a decision, but really I went along with the decision someone else made. But when that happened and I had an abortion, I was completely unaware how it would affect my life in the long term.
Right.
So I became a workaholic, and I worked and worked and worked trying to prove my worth.
Right.
I've had difficulty maintaining relationships and marital relationships. I now know that's one of the common, but
Right,
I
it's
had
very
no
common.
ideas. And so in that sense, you know, as a person that was silent in shame for years, but learning to be silent no more. I had the privilege of speaking in front of the Supreme Court with you back, I think it was in 22.
Right.
It may have been before that. I can't quite recall.
It was a
when.
while ago.
Yeah, it was. And so that process of speaking out really does give a person courage. And part of what happens at that point, as you know, is you discover you're not alone.
Right.
There are other people and other people that are willing to share.
Right.
So this is an invitation for those people in Missouri that have experienced abortion to come out from under the pews if they're in church, but to be silent no more, because now it's our opportunity
Right.
to not only inform the voting public, but also other people like ourselves. I'm thinking of what I consider younger sisters that don't know what I know. And even the ones that are facing a decision with an unexpected pregnancy,
Right.
or the ones that have had abortions and don't even know that there's recovery available, or that
Right.
they might need it because they haven't connected the dots on what it meant and what it's done to their life.
And in fact, what they can do is if you're from Missouri, you can go to silentnomore.com, because we have an outline there that you could begin to tell your story, and you give us permission. You say it's okay, and then we'll be back in touch with you, and we will make sure they have had healing, and would they like to get involved with this campaign in Missouri, and then we will give them to you. How's that?
That's beautiful.
You know,
That's beautiful.
Because that's what we need to do. We need to raise up. I know we already have one Silent No More couple. It's Chuck and Linda Raymond, who had abortion when they were teenagers. They were basically forced by both sets of parents. So both sets of grandparents insisted on the abortion of their grandchild.
Yes.
And they're a very powerful couple. They're very articulate. I know you've already been in touch with them,
Yes.
and they're going to be very vocal, because they were
Yes.
vocal 2 years ago trying to stop this thing. So they're going to be just as vocal, I think,
Yes.
to help get this good stuff happening, voting yes. So
Yes.
the right vote is vote yes, right?
Yes, that is the right vote. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because this is where I think we had their contact information, because at least Linda had also signed a declaration
Right.
with Operation Outcry.
She did.
So
yes.
this is part of the bridge in terms of the information and people speaking out. So there is a process of signing a declaration at operationoutcry.org.
Right.
And then those also can be used in other cases, in briefs and whatnot around
Right.
the country.
Now, is there a website for this initiative in Missouri that everyone are going to? Is there some kind of landing zone where people can read about the ballot more?
Well, there is I just looked at that, but I'm sorry, I don't have that readily available.
Right.
But we are working with Well, there is an entity that's trying to pull together
All the different groups,
all
right?
the groups called
Right.
her health, her future, her health, her future. So I think the title is really designed about, we need to talk about
What's really happening.
what's really happening.
Right.
And so, Janet, my hope is that we are able to bring some of these voices of abortion harm to the table so that the voting public will be informed.
Right.
Because people have the courage to be silent no more as they're invited to participate,
Right.
and as they might sign a declaration, and as that becomes part of the healing.
Right. Well, I'm going to shout this from the rooftops. I'm going to help you get more voices.
Thank you.
And so we got to pray, fast, and we're going to win this ballot initiative. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Janet.
Well, you heard it out there. If you had an abortion in Missouri, I want to hear from you. Go to silentnomore.com. Start telling me your story. Send me a message, and we're going to get you involved. As long as we get you the healing first. We don't want you speaking from your pain. We want you to speak from being redeemed and at peace. silentnomore.com. Missouri, we need you. Contact us, because remember, brothers and sisters, this can help stop abortion, because there's some abortions only you can stop. Therefore, some lives only you can save. Join us again next time. Thank you.
Hello, friends of Priests for Life. This is Astrid Bennett de Orduño. I just want to express my gratitude for Father Frank and Janet and all the staff at Priests for Life for the incredible support that I've received personally for the pro-life work that God has called me to. Over 25 years ago, I first encountered Father Frank when he invited people like you and me to be involved full-time in the pro-life movement. I didn't think it was possible, but I opened my heart, and thanks to the guidance and encouragement and support of Father Frank and everyone at Priests for Life, I was able to begin serving full-time to save the babies, bless the mothers who are in crisis pregnancy through my work at Hispanics for Life, my work at Los Angeles Pregnancy Services, and also now through EWTN, through the various shows like the March for Life coverage in Spanish and Informe Pro Vida, which is the Spanish language pro-life programming at EWTN Spanish. We're so grateful, and we thank Father for his continued witness that it is so important that we continue to be committed to victory, because we're already working from victory. Jesus has already conquered death through his cross and resurrection. So thank you for being a part of this beautiful work as well. God bless.
follow him, Frank Pavone, Fr. Frank Pavone. He is the National Director of Priests for Life. Please go to priestsforlife.org.
Frank Pavone. Frank, thank you very much.